Okay, good morning once again. My name is Michael Wimberly, and I welcome you once again to the Windchill Workload Manager for SolidWorks. I was just kind of holding off a little bit just to allow some other additional people to jump on, but we'll go ahead and get started. So once again, the way, sorry, there we go. So the way this is going to flow, very simply, just give you an overview of myself, who I am, also an overview of Boundary Systems, then I'll go into a presentation on the Workgroup Manager itself and then do a demo on the Workgroup Manager. Once we conclude that, we'll actually go through some Q&A, some question answering on anything that you may have concerning the Workgroup Manager, Windchill, or the combination of the two. So real quickly, myself, I am a senior technical specialist here at Boundary Systems. I've been working with PTC products now for, just realized it's been over 20 years that I've been working with PTC products. I am a certified instructor in Creo and Windchill classes, also a certified Windchill implementer for, of course, the versions of Windchill. And I actually live in Cincinnati, Ohio. The corporate headquarters for Boundary Systems, though, is actually in Cleveland, Ohio. So Boundary Systems. So Boundary Systems, of course, is a technology leader. Partners that we work with are, of course, Stratus for 3D printers, PTC for, of course, our 3D CAD, Autodesk for AutoCAD, eTraj for some add-ons to any of the CAD systems, and many of the other technology leaders as well we partner with. We also are number 16th of the fastest growing companies in the greater Cleveland area. So we are continuing to grow. Every year that we've been in business, we've actually been growing. And as you can see, that continues with us currently. Our capabilities overall as a company, we are a product life cycle management company, so we can go through and provide that through our Windchill products. Data management, of course, through our Windchill products as well. CAD design and consulting, we can come on site and do design. You can bring in us files, we can do design work for you. We have experts in simulation. Of course, we are a 3D reseller, technical guys, implement. We do all of those things with 3D printers, as well as product development. So we have a whole gambit of things that we actually work with. And as you can see on the right side of the screen, just some of our customers that we have, URA, Cooper Tires, Sherman-Williams, some of the names that you recognize. Of course, that's not everybody, but just some of the ones that we have listed. As far as awards, as you can see, since 2011, we've actually been on the Inc. 5000 listing. 2011, we were 1150. 2012, we were 1103. 2013, 1398. And then last year, we were at 4378. The Weatherhead 500, which is basically the Northeastern Ohio's fastest growing companies, we've been on that list as well for the last few years, number 10, number 14, and number 32 as well. And then some of the major accreditations, once again, with Stratus, support service provider. We also, of course, as myself personally and some additional technical specialists within the company are also certified implementers. PTC preferred service provider, and of course a PTC certified training partner. So we can do training at our facility or we can do training at your facility, either one. And our mission statement as a whole is to have the most technical expertise on PTC products of any company in the world. We're striving to do that. We're pushing towards that. We have a lot of people that are experts in many different areas of PTC products, whether it's the CAD side or the database management side or the FEA side. We have experts in all of those areas. Also, to understand the needs of our customers and use that to understand as a basis of our recommendations in their product lifecycle management. So once again, the way that we find out what works best is to find out what the customers are using. And what they're doing on a daily basis. To have a level of expertise and a level of understanding of the customer's needs that we can guarantee the success of every solution we provide and to help customers constantly decrease costs, decrease time to market, and increase quality of their products. That's the purpose. As we go into or we add in new technology, the purpose of that is to be quicker in what you're doing. So decrease the amount of time it takes something from concept to market. In doing that, also decrease the amount of the cost that it takes to do it. So you're decreasing the amount of time, manufacturing costs may be reduced, things like that. And of course, in doing that, we're not decreasing quality, we're going to increase the quality as well. So we're looking to, once again, help customers do anything that they need to. So going into all of that with the customer world, this is a CAD-centric world, which means that everything, almost everything that is manufactured in this world basically starts off with a concept. That concept most of the time is transferred into some type of image, whether it's a concept that somebody has in their head or a napkin sketch. They may go in and say, okay, maybe I want to pursue this a little bit more. So it goes from a concept or a napkin sketch to an actual workable design. And most of the time when you're doing that workable design, you're doing it in some sort of CAD system. What type of CAD systems? Well, you have Pro Engineer 2000i and I squared. You have 2001. You have Pro Engineer Wildfire. You have, of course, PTC Creo. Anybody that's familiar with any of the CAD systems know that that's my bias for PTC products. Those are some of the previous builds of versions of PTC products. But the one that we're also talking about, and then we're not limited to just PTC products, we are going to be talking about SolidWorks as well. Now, SolidWorks isn't the only non-PTC product that we can go through and use. We can use CAD 5. We can go in and use AutoCAD. I think we also have one for Solid Edge. So there are different workgroup managers that can be used for other softwares as well. Now, the purpose of that is, once again, to be able to bring everything together. Because the way things are done now is when you have those files, they're stored. So you have them stored in your file structures, usually on a hard drive somewhere on a server there, everybody can access them. But each one of them is separated in folder structures. How are they organized? Well, most of the time they're organized by CAD type. So we have them organized where we have CAD files or Creo files. They're organized in this folder structure, has its subfolder structure. You have SolidWorks files. They're in this subfolder structure. You may have AutoCAD files. They're in the same type of subfolder structure. The thing is that we have all these subfolder structures that probably duplicate each other or mimic each other, but they just store different types of data. So what we can do now is, instead of going in and having all these structures, we can have one core system that stores all of our data in one location. That system, of course, being Windchill PDM Link. With that, of course, you can see it manages complete data, product representation, one repository for heterogeneous content. So from the MCAD side, you can see we have Creo files, we have Creo Element files, Creo Direct. We also have CATIA, SolidWorks, UG, Inventor, CAD 5, AutoCAD. So we're not, once again, just storing PTC-based products. We're storing any type of CAD data inside of there. You can also go into the ECAD side where we have Mentor Graphics, Cadence, Creo schematics, and then, of course, any additional software. So MKS Integrity you can also use, which is a PTC product as well. So what we're doing is now we're giving those one repository instead of having everything separated by CAD type. We're just separating things by categories. Everything works on this product, whether it's a Creo file, whether it's a SolidWorks file, a UG file, whatever it may be. We're bringing everything together into one location. So with the Windchill 10.2 Workgroup Manager, what you do is you extend Windchill capabilities into the engineering desktop. So we're not just going in and saying, okay, this is a simple add-on, you go here to go through and access it. It actually embeds Windchill into SolidWorks menus. So you'll actually be accessing Windchill directly through SolidWorks, checking in, checking out all the functionalities. It allows the users to access key Windchill functionalities without leaving SolidWorks. It ensures file management, once again, check in, check out, download. So you can go through and make sure that those that are changing the files have permission to change the files and actually check it out so that it notifies everyone else that you're working on it. Assemblies, parts, drawings, external references, dependencies, and configurations. So you don't have to go through. I know inside of Creo, you have to go through and set up search paths that tells Creo, look in this folder, this folder, this folder, to go through and find different files. With Windchill, you don't have to do that. It understands relationships. It understands where the files are located in the repository. So if you have an assembly in one product and it's pulling parts from other products, it knows that and it'll pull everything without a problem. And then once again, access control vaulting, which simply allows you to control who can do what, to what, when, where, and how. And then you have bidirectional attribute exchange. So the attributes that you set inside of Windchill, inside of SolidWorks, that information can actually be edited in SolidWorks as well as inside of Windchill. So things like your descriptions or things like, a vendor or things like those things, those can be edited within either location. Also, of course, you have your enterprise level visualization that you also have. So in someone just going in and viewing the file, they can go through and see what the image is without having to pull it up inside of the core application, which that being SolidWorks. So you have the 2D and 3D viewables for drawings and actual 3D models, and you also have the ability to do markups. So you still have the ability to pull it up inside of Creo view, which is the image on the right side of the screen. Pull up in Creo view and actually do markups inside of there. So you can go through and add notes. On the drawing, you can do actual markups on those as well. So you can export them as certain file types, which will allow you to do markups on those particular files. So the Workload Manager for SolidWorks, once again, enhancing SolidWorks configuration. Once again, it does support family tables. Family tables have always been an issue, just period, in management. But what Windchill manages those very well, whether it's Creo's family tables or SolidWorks family tables. It also supports the SolidWorks Toolbox, SolidWorks Virtual Components, once again, the exclude from BOM from SolidWorks, of course, the PDF generation, import and exporting, CAD data, soft typing, so basically you can create a core type and then create subtypes underneath that, and of course your start files. You can also go through and store those in the database as well, and of course create new SolidWorks data. All right, so at this point, I'm now going to go into the presentation for SolidWorks. No, that's not my card. I wish it was. All right, so here's a simple layout. Right now, we're actually in the Workload Manager for Windchill. So you have on the left side, you have the Windchill cabinets. So with the Windchill cabinets, it'll go in and take you to the data inside the database. So we go to our Home tab. Our Home tab is simply a simple layout tasks. So if we have things like a promotion approval, which allows us to take a file from one lifecycle state to another lifecycle state, which the benefit of that is not only visually seeing where it is, as you can see, these are in work, but also allowing you to go in and set permissions to those things so that when they're at certain levels, only certain things can be done to those. And then you have updates, which is recently worked items, and any checked out work that you have that you're currently working on. This table is customizable. So you also have items such as workspaces, which is where you'll actually do your physical work. So when you're actually working inside of SolidWorks, instead of having a working directory on your hard drive, you'll have a workspace on your hard drive that is connected to Windchill. So I currently have this workspace in here called testing, and I will go through and select on that one, and currently it is empty. But what I can also do inside of here, I can go through and browse. By browsing, it shows me what I have access to. I'll go into my products, into my golf court, and then go into, there's a design folder. Inside of the design folder, I have separated this one, and there's some data inside of there. So I can come over here. There's a viewables for each one of those, so I can see what those different files look like. I do have the ability to open those up in Creo view to get a better view of them and even do markups in them as well. So, fully functional. I can go through and do measurements on it as well. I'll come back into that if I have time after we continue on, or after I show you the Windchill information. All right, so at this point, I'll go ahead and minimize this. This is just your standard Windchill display. Now we're inside of SolidWorks. So inside of SolidWorks, you can still go through and retrieve data from your hard drive. So I'm going to come over here and just do our regular open. So right now, because it is connected to Windchill, by default it's going to my workspace. But because I don't have anything in workspace, then of course there's nothing for it to show. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go through on my hard drive and find my data. So I actually have data inside of here that I want to go through and open up. Oh, it's not in there. It is in there. It's right there. Went too deep. Simple part. Now, bring it up. And as you see, when I pull it up, I actually have this tab that is PTC Windchill. So that is my link directly to Windchill. I still have all my other tabs, of course, to go through and manipulate the data if I want to go through and add anything inside of here. So adding additional features to it, I can go through and do that as well. But the core of it, so all these things still work the same inside of Windchill, but the core of it is, of course, now having that link directly to Windchill. So I do have my save up here. I also have my save to my workspace. So when I go in and select, I'm going to go in and select Save Viewables. So we'll go through and populate a viewable as well. And I'll simply come over here and do a Save to Workspace. So as you can see down here in the bottom right, it's telling me that it was saved. So if I come back now, I can go into my Workgroup Manager and go to my workspace. And I can see that now that file has been saved into my workspace. And at this point, if I wanted to, I can go through and check this file in directly from my workspace. But I also have the ability to do that directly inside of, I was about to say Creo, inside of SolidWorks. So I do want to go ahead and check this file in. So I'm going to do an auto check-in. And what it's going in and doing, you can see it saved it again. It's now uploading it, which now puts it onto the server. Once it's done with the upload, the next thing it'll show is the check-in portion of it, which now that file is in the database. So if I go back to my, and you don't have to keep going back here, I'm just going to show you that it has uploaded successfully, and I just want to show you inside the Workgroup Manager, if I refresh my work group, that is no longer a new file, and that data does now exist inside of the database. So there's a file, the viewable, and I can see that this file has been stored into this location. So currently I'm looking at this file inside of my workspace. That's what this icon is. I can go directly to that version inside of the common space and see that data as well. And I also have a history file that will go with it. All right, so I'll go ahead and minimize that, and I'll go ahead and close that out. Now, as I said, you can go through and open up files from your hard drive. That one is still in my workspace, but I don't want to open up there. I actually want to open up a file directly from Windchill. So I don't have it in my workspace, but I can go through and browse inside of Windchill. So I'm going to go into my common space, go into Products, go back into the golf cart, go into the Design, SolidWorks, and I want to go through and open up this engine assembly. So I'm going to go in and select on engine assembly. And as you can see, it's telling me it's adding it to the workspace and downloading the files. There it is. So now I have this assembly inside of my SolidWorks and that item. Everything has now currently been added to my workspace as well. So everything is here. And as I said, all this works exactly the same way as it has before. And as you can see here, because it's been in Windchill, I don't have to go through and tell it specifically to save to the workspace. It's going to do that automatically because that's where it came from. All right. Now, the benefit of having Windchill synced up with SolidWorks is that when you have something and you're working on it and you make changes to it, if you go in and you try to save that file, it'll let you know that you don't have that file checked out. What that means is you don't have permission to actually change this file. So you can actually go through and now check it out. What that does is now give you possession of that file, and it alerts everyone else that sees it in the database that you now have possession of that file. So I'm going to check out these two files, which will allow me to go through and save those and check them out. So it checked them out and then allowed me to go through and save them. So I am going to go for this one. I am going to go directly to my Workload Manager, and I'm going to go back to my workspace. And I can see that those two files are checked out. That's what that icon means. It's checked out. So it's checked out by me. Others would see a different icon, but they will still have an icon. When they highlight it, it'll say it's checked out by your username. You can see that it's been modified and everything. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and highlight these two files, and I'm going to go ahead and check those in. So once again, check them back into where they came from. Give it a few seconds to go through and execute everything. And then once everything is checked in, I'll go into the database. I'll do an information report on the one here locally in my workspace. So I'm going to go and look at this item. Once again, completely viewable. I'm currently in my workspace. I do want to go back into the database. And I can see this file. I can zoom in on it. And once again, if I want to see it inside of Creo view, I simply select on this icon or on the image itself, and I'll actually open it up in Creo. I'm sorry, in Creo view. So I also want to go to the Structure tab. In the Structure tab, it shows you the actual CAD structure. So everything that you see in your BOM is what you'll see here. With the visualization, I can go through and make sure and go through and select on the different items in the viewable, and it'll actually highlight them on the screen. So it shows me what each one of those are on the screen. Some of them are flashing. Not sure why it's not highlighting completely, but they'll highlight as you see there for each one of those. So content, it also allows you to see if you have any attachments here and any markups. So anytime you do a markup inside a Creo view and you save it, it saves it as an annotation, and it'll actually be listed down here in the annotations area. You also have related objects. So related objects that we have here is what we call a WT part. And I'm actually going to open up that as well. Now the WT part is basically a metadata type file related directly to the original CAD file. Once again, you can see that its structure is the same as the structure for the CAD file. And then also the visualization of that is the same as you'll see in the CAD file. And then the same thing here, as I'm selecting on the objects, they'll highlight on the screen. Now, the other thing that I can do here is I can come over, and if I want to go through and create another part, so maybe I want to go through and add just a part for a BOM. I don't want to see it in my actual CAD file, but I do want to go through and show it as part of a BOM structure. Maybe I'm going to export this to our ERP system. So I'm going to go in and say I want to create a new file. And this new file, it may not be an actual component. It may simply be an adhesive. So I'm going to call this glue. So it's not something that you would actually go in and purchase an individual component. It's something that you're going to go through and need. I can go through and manipulate more of these as well. For right now, I'm just going to go ahead and leave all these blank. So we have contract number, job authorization number. These are attributes that can also be added. So we can go through it and actually search by those attributes. So it may be a certain contract that we're looking for. We can go through and search by those attributes. So I'm going to go through and add that. So that was actually added underneath the engine block because that was the one that I actually created it under, or I had highlighted. I can go through and actually select on the top level, which is technically what I wanted to do. And I want to go through and add a few more items. So each one of them will be parts. And I'm just going to go through and specify just a couple of them. I'm going to call this tape. And I'm going to call this paint. And I'm going to call this one packaging. And I'll go ahead and finish that. And now those items have now been added to this BOM. Now, as you can see, when I went in and added it, these two items were checked out. So I'm going to go ahead and check that in. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one to go in and check it in as well. Now, what I can also do with this is do a comparison. I want to go in and compare this BOM structure. So if I want to see what what's different between my part structure and my CAD structure, I can go through and do that. So I'm going to compare these two structures to each other, and it'll allow me to go in and see what the differences are between these two items. So this is what I've added to my BOM structure. This is what I've added to, or if I added anything, it'll also show over here. So if there were some CAD files I didn't have part for, it will go in and show those as well. The other thing that I can do with this is not only go in and add to my structure here, but I can also go through and add other types of documents. So for this one, I want to go through and add some reference documents. So I'm going to go in and add document, and it's telling me, of course, it has to check it out, which is fine anytime you go in and do a manipulation. So I'm going to go through and find this file. So the files that I want to that I add is going to be underneath here, and I want to go in and add the installation document, and that's the name of it. And going in and adding it, it makes it the default name, and I'll go ahead and say finish on that. And now as a reference document, I've now added for this assembly the engine installation guide. So now I have that additional document associated with this file. If I want to go through and add more, I can go through and do that as well. Just simply go in and add additional files. And one of them is test results. So, and I do have the ability, of course, to go in and add them as a group as well. I was just doing them one at a time to show you the selection. So, and there are those two files that are now added into our actual assembly. I'm sorry, into our file, and of course I'll go in and check that file in now as well. So as you can see, with Windchill as a whole, not only does it allow you to directly interface with SolidWorks, but it also allows you better management of your data inside of Windchill as a whole. So I can go into Windchill and add additional data. So I can go through and store. So all those subfolders that we may have created that has, you know, price quotes, it may have test results, it may have, you know, all of our documentation. We can go through and bring all that data into Windchill as well and relate it to the appropriate items. So you can see that this engine part file is related to the drawing, the assembly, and it has the additional attachments to it as well. So there's a lot of information that you can go through and store directly inside of Windchill, whether it's directly with SolidWorks, just simply managing your CAD data, or managing other aspects of your data as well. You can go through and manipulate as well. So at this point in the demonstration, are there any additional or any questions that may be asked? Is everybody still here? Okay. Well, once again, I hope that this was meaningful to you, that you actually got something out of it. If you do have any questions, definitely feel free to contact me. My information is here. If you have questions on the Workload Manager as a whole, contact me. If you have questions on Windchill, contact me. If we're dealing with pricing issues, or if you want to know how much it is, you know, contact me and I'll get you in touch with the appropriate person. I'm a tech person. I don't do the pricing. So I'll get you in touch with a salesperson. So once again, if you do have any questions, definitely feel free to contact me through phone, through email. You can also visit our website, boundarysystems.com or boundarysys.com, to get more information on it as well. Thank you once again for your attendance, and have a great rest of the afternoon.